A bunch of NBA free agency transactions have took place. We're here to talk about it. You're watching James Carter TV.
Yeah, looking like a trouble when I walked in the building. That mean I got something expensive. Know my friends, they killing. All these hoes I'm killing.
Hello and welcome to James Carter TV. The 2016 NBA free agency is here. It is July 1st and boom, moves and signings and all kinds of transactions have been blowing up my phone, my Twitter all day. We're here to talk about them. Day one of free agency. Now, I plan to do this for the upcoming days as more and more signings go along. It's only about 6:30 Central Time right now, so some more signings might happen tonight. And if they do, though, I won't be able to talk about it until tomorrow. So just stay tuned, subscribe. That way you'll be prepared for when that video is uploaded. Let's talk about the big signings. Not too much rumor talk here because I don't want to be here forever. First of all, I think one of the bigger signings today, Dwight Howard signs with the Atlanta Hawks, 3 years, $70.5 million. He was my 7th ranked free agent, and the more I thought about it, I thought maybe I should rank him higher. I think Dwight Howard is still a top 6 or 7 center in the league. I think you have DeMarcus Cousins and Karl-Anthony Towns and, guys of that ilk like Hassan Whiteside. You can throw in there Marc Gasol. And I think Dwight is right under those guys. He's not going to give you 20 points per game anymore. I mean, he may have some 20-point games, but not going to consistently do that. But he can definitely be a 15 and 12 guy for you and even give you a couple blocks and be a really good center, a really good 5 to have as long as he can remain athletic and healthy. And he's only 30 years old, and this is only a 3-year deal. So you're going to be getting him for his athletic and prime years that he has left, because after this deal, I think he's about done. Because when you see with these athletic bigs, those guys that haven't really gotten polished throughout their careers, like even Shaq, they really decline after they lose that prime. Like, Shaq is one of the most dominant centers in the league. The reason he couldn't remain consistent, he just didn't become polished enough. In order for you to become a good center, an actual starting center in your 35s, 36, 37, you have to be polished. You have to have a mid-range game. You have to be able to win in other ways. Dwight Howard hasn't gained that yet, so I think after this contract, he's pretty much done. But considering this is only a 3-year contract, I really like him for the Hawks. You pair him up with Dennis Schroeder. They have Kyle Korver on the outside. They're probably going to need some more talent, though, because they lost Jeff Teague, and that's going to hurt. And Paul Millsap is there, and I mean, I think it's a slight net positive, because I'm not a big Al Horford fan. I think he's good, but I think Dwight Howard, I think he's actually a little bit better. I think he's a better rebounder. He's definitely a better rebounder and definitely a better defender. So you're going to need to make up for Horford scoring because Dwight won't give you that, but I think you actually got a better center here in Dwight Howard. We move on. Al Jefferson signs with the Indiana Pacers. Not a lot of people are talking about this, but I think this is a great move. Now, Jefferson probably had the worst year of his career last year. Only had about 12.8 points per game, shot under 50%, but still, with that said, had an 18 PER. I liked seeing that. Your rebounding ability is still there. Never a great rebounder, but definitely a guy that can give you double-doubles from time to time throughout the year. And you talk about the Indiana Pacers. Guys, they're building a pretty damn good team. You have Jeff Teague at the point guard position. You have Monte Ellis and Rodney Stuckey at the shooting guard position. Both of those guys struggled last year. I mean, they both probably had the worst years of their career. But if they can step it up under Nate McMillan, the new head coach, I like that duo. You have Paul George, you traded for Thaddeus Young. A lot of people don't remember that. They traded their 20th draft pick in this draft for Thaddeus Young, a guy that averaged 15 and 9 last year. Now you add in Al Jefferson, and you had Miles Turner, the rookie power forward slash center, who came in and played really well last year. Looks like a young Chris Bosh. Maybe not of that, echelon, but definitely that type of player, a guy that I think could have some all-star in his future. I think the Pacers are setting themselves up to be a number 2 or number 3 seed in the the Eastern Conference next year, a 50-plus win team. It's a shame they fired Frank Vogel because now Nate McMillan is going to get a lot of the credit here, but now they're actually giving them the best roster they've really had since Danny Granger left. So everyone's going to say Nate McMillan did a great job. I'm going to say, no, you guys didn't try until you fired Frank Vogel. You should have gave Frank Vogel this cast. But anyway, I really like this signing for the Indiana Pacers. We have some re-signings. Nick Batum signs for 5 years, $120 million. Oh yeah, let me preface this whole video. I should have said this before the video. Look, remember, the cap went up. Before you say this is a good deal, this is a bad deal, look at the average of the contract. This contract would be an average of about a little under 25 million, about 24 million, right? What's the cap room? We have a $94 million salary cap. So what percentage of this deal is the percentage of the salary cap? This equates to about 25%. So then ask yourself, is Nick Batum worth 25% of your cap? No, he's not. I'd say maybe worth about 20, maybe anywhere from 17% to 20%, because, I mean, well, for the Hornets, I guess you could say he's worth more to them because he played well last year, but, I mean, I think if you're ever trying to be a NBA championship contender, which is what I'm viewing it from, and hopefully you are too, because hopefully that's where you want to be, it's not a great contract. It's not horrible. I'd probably give it a B-. He's a good player, but he's never going to average 20 points per game, and why are you giving a guy 25% of your cap, a guy that's not going to get 20 points per game? You know, this doesn't make sense to me, unless if he's a really good defender, and Nick Batum isn't that. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think it's a little bit of an overpay, but, you know, it's fine. It's not a horrible deal. Bradley Beal, 5 years, $128 million. All right, this is almost the exact same contract. This one is over $25 million, so it's about 25.3 or 2 million. Okay, so how much? That's about, yet again, it's a little over 25% of the cap, so about 26, 27% of the cap. I like this move a lot more. You're talking about really the second best player on this Washington Wizards team. In order for you to actually win the title, probably can only be your fourth, but you're giving him 25% of your cap, so I'm fine with that. And it maybe, you know, maybe I'm reaching a little too high saying championship, but even if you want to just be a playoff team, I mean, we saw you could be a playoff team with John Wall and Bradley Beal. So now you're talking about Bradley Beal only taking up 26, 27% of your cap. I'm actually on board with that and I actually like this move. He needs to get better defensively. He needs to get more rebounds, more assists, just be a more efficient player statistically, and that'll help his team tremendously. Trust me, it will. But I like this deal more than Nick Batum trade. And also, he's only 23, guys. Only 22, 23 years old. A lot of potential left with Bradley Beal. An underrated move, Jared Bayless, the shooting guard / point guard of the, who did he play for last year? The Milwaukee Bucks, I believe. Now signed with the Philadelphia 76ers, 3-year, $27 million deal. And this is a cheap deal. This is a deal worth only a little less than 10% of the salary cap. I'm going to keep bringing up these percentages to you because it's a new reference frame. We've never dealt with these numbers before, so we need to put them in context of the salary cap to get a better understanding of what we've given up here. So only a little less than 10% of the cap room. You have 12 players, 15, but really 12 active players on your roster in the NBA. So you give him 10%, and he's probably going to be a sixth man for this team. Hell, maybe even a starting point guard. It's a fantastic deal by the Philadelphia 76ers. Jordan Clarkson, Laker, re-signed him. 4-year, $50 million deal. This averages to about $12.5 million per year. About 1/8, anywhere from 1/8 to 1/7 of the salary cap. He's probably their best player right now. D'Angelo Russell, I think, is going to ascend to that throne. But right now, I think it's Jordan Clarkson. I think it goes Jordan Clarkson, then Russell, then Randall, and then hopefully Brandon Ingram ends up being one of their best players. So in terms of right now, this is a great deal for them. And even for any other team, I think this would be a really great deal because I'm a big Jordan Clarkson fan. Also in Laker news, they signed Timothy Mozgov, 4 years, $64 million. This averages to about, I think it's not even an average. I think it's exactly about, is it 12 million per year? Yeah, 12 million per year. Just did the math in my head. I'm a mathematician today. Now, what is that? Okay, so, actually, no, 16. Sorry, it's 16. Woo! Math error in my head. Vanderbilt student here, disappointing. So, $16 million per year, this averages about to. That is about 1/7 to 1/6 of the cap. A little high. But with that said, I don't think it's as bad of a deal as people are making it out to be. People are like, oh my God, they're throwing their money away. They gave up anywhere from 1/7 to 1/6 of their cap. Probably about, about anywhere from 1/7 to 1/6 of their cap. And who are they paying? They're not paying anybody. Everyone is on rookie deals. Russell, Randall, Ingram, rookie deals. And Jordan Clarkson on a cheap deal. They just re-signed him. So who the hell are the Lakers paying? They're not paying anybody. The highest paid players on this team are on the bench. Lou Williams, Nick Young. Those are the highest paid players. So I don't care about the Lakers giving money to Mozgov, who's going to start. They gave a sixth, or anywhere from a 6th to a 7th of the salary cap to a starter, one of the starting 5. They're not paying anybody. Nobody's coming. Like, they weren't going to sign Al Horford. I thought they could sign Whiteside. They didn't. So with that said, I don't see the problem with this deal. I would have done it. I definitely would not have done it. But it's not as bad as people are making it out to be, because they only gave anywhere from a 6th to a 7th of the salary cap to a starting center, a guy that wasn't very good last year but was pretty good the year before that. They hope to get that version, and next year they still have room for 2 max players, and I think they're going to suck again. I'm a Laker fan. I think we're going to suck again, and I think that's fine. The Timberwolves were the 5th worst team in the NBA with Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins. About 6 years ago, or actually 8 years ago, the Oklahoma City Thunder, they actually turned to the Thunder this very year. When they had Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, they only won 23 games. And they had Jeff Green, by the way, who's a damn good NBA player. So with those 3 guys, they only won 23 games. I think the same story is going to be for the Lakers. They're going to be bad this year. One more year of being bad. There's only one team in the NBA that I think is worse than them right now for sure, and that is the Brooklyn Nets. Other possibilities could include maybe the Orlando Magic, maybe the Sacramento Kings, but I'm not betting on those. I think the Lakers are the 2nd worst team in the league. The Sixers also, actually the Sixers are still worse than them. It's still, the Sixers win that one. So with that said, I think they tank again. I think they could get a Josh Jackson, who's my #1 prospect in the 2017 NBA draft, and then they really shoot up, like be a playoff team next year. I'm telling you, 2017, that's when the rise will come. The Thunder went from a 23-win team to a 50-win team in 1 year. That's what happens when you have young talent. All of a sudden, boom, they get it, they understand it. They're in the NBA, they turn from 19 to 21, and boom, they end up playing really well. It'll be the same story for the LA Lakers. But let's move on, because we're not here to talk about only the Lakers today. Andre Drummond re-signed with the Detroit Pistons, 5-year, $130 million. Equates to, yet again, about 20... actually, this one is closer to 30% of the cap. And honestly, it's a really good deal because he's their best player. I mean, he's their best player. He's one of the best centers in the league. He's actually better than Dwight Howard. I forgot about him. Drummond's another one of those top 5 centers in the league. Giving him 30% of your cap room, that is fine with me. We move on to Hassan Whiteside, who re-signed with the Miami Heat, 4 years, $98 million. Yet again, about 25% of the cap. And yet again, I like the move, because we're talking about getting a guy that I think is, definitely one of the top 5 centers in the league, elite shot blocker, a guy that he's not going to be your best player, but he could be your 3rd best player on a championship team. I do believe that, actually, because he's just so good defensively, but never going to be great offensively for you. He's like Dwight Howard with a little more effort and less athleticism, but more length. So, you get a bunch of, combinations there with Hassan Whiteside, but I'm a big Whiteside fan. They re-signed him, and this deal is actually pending because he said if the Heat sign Durant, which I doubt, but if they do, he will actually sign for less than this. So we'll watch the numbers for this deal if they sign Kevin Durant. We have Evan Turner, who went to the Portland Trail Blazers, 4 years, $70 million. I think this is one of the worst contracts of the day. I think Evan Turner is an overrated player. I think he's a horrible 3-point shooter. I think he's okay defensively, mainly just because he has length at the shooting guard position. I don't think he's very athletic at all. I mean, he's okay, but he's an NBA athlete, nothing more than that. I think he's a volume shooter, and he really shouldn't be. You know, he just jacks up way too many shots than he should be, and I think he's going to take some shots away from McCollum and Lillard, and I really don't like this combination here. Really don't like this deal here for the Blazers, to be honest. 4 years, $70 million. One of the worst deals of the day to me. We move on to Chandler Parsons, who signs with the Memphis Grizzlies, 4-year, $94 million. So this is about, I'd say about 20% of the cap, 21, 22%. And a little high, but he was going to get this value anywhere he went, and I think the Grizzlies are trying to set up. They're still going to be a playoff team next year. I mean, I don't know about their new head coach, David Fizdale. I mean, I just don't know about him because I don't know how good of a coach he is, but they should still be a playoff team next year. I think this solidifies that, and I think that's where they want to be right now. Me, I'd go for the rebuild, but they want to make the playoffs. That's fine. He'll get you there. It's a fine deal. We move on to Jeremy Lin. 3 years, $30 million with the Brooklyn Nets. So again, this is about $10 million. This is about a little over 10% of the cap room. It's a good deal because he played well for the Charlotte Hornets last year, better than I thought he would play for them, better than he played for the Lakers. I know that. He's still a good backup point guard to have, and hell, he may start for them actually. What the hell am I talking about? So if you're starting him, you're talking about getting a starter for about 12% of your cap room. Hey, I like that deal for you, and I think it's a good deal. I think he'll be a good player for them, but the Nets are going to stink. I mean, that's just what's going to happen. They're going to stink. We move on to Evan Fournier, who signs a 5-year, $85 million deal. Hey, here's something that's fun. Try Googling Fournier. Viewer discretion is advised, by the way, because you're not going to like what you see. But it's funny. I looked it up. I was, researching all this, and I saw his nickname was Never Google, and I Googled. And yeah, have fun Googling that if you really want to. But anyway, so this is the thing, I made my Oladipo video. Oladipo traded. A lot of Magic fans were telling me how great Evan Fournier is, and he's good, right? He's an average shooting guard. That's what he is. I mean, he's not better than the average shooting guard, starting shooting guard in the NBA. Still, Oladipo, guys, he has more potential. Evan Fournier is the best he's ever going to be. He's not going to be a 20-point per game guy ever. He's not. And if he is, you have a bad team. You have a very bad team if Evan Fournier is averaging more than 20 points per game for you. Oladipo still has that 20-point per game potential. You can believe that. So I don't agree with, Fournier, better, more efficient player than Oladipo right now? Sure. Is Oladipo 22 years old? Yeah. Does he still have a lot of potential with that athleticism? Yeah. Evan Fournier is 23, okay, but what's the potential there? Because he's not a great athlete. He's a really good shooter right now, and he's the best he's pretty much going to be. He's peaked, and this is the best he's going to be. Oladipo still has a lot of potential. I wouldn't have traded him. Now you're talking about giving him $17 million per year, talking about Fournier, and I think it's a value, but I'm not sure what the Magic are building here. I think they're trying to make the playoffs. I don't think that's going to work. I think they're going to really dip down this year. Maybe not too much. Maybe about 30 games. I think they won 33 last year, but I'm just not a big fan. The deal is fine. I'm just not a fan of the Magic philosophy right now. Giving up Ersan Ilyasova, who's a good bench player, giving up Domantas Sabonis, who would have been a good starter, and giving up Oladipo, who is your second best player. I mean, I just don't understand that trade at all. It just doesn't make sense to me. And I think the worst deal of the day is coming up here. Solomon Hill, the shooting guard of the Indiana Pacers, formerly, signed a 4-year, $50 million deal with the New Orleans Pelicans. Are these Pelicans out of their minds? I mean, what kind of deal is this? Solomon Hill is a guy who's pretty good defensively. I'll give you that. But this guy's gotten over 20 points per game twice in his NBA career. And he's gotten $12.5 million per year average with the New Orleans Pelicans, got over 20 points per game twice. Oh, and by the way, that was both last year. It wasn't even this season. It was last season when he did this. So we're talking about giving this guy all this money for what? I mean, you're giving him more than you can afford per average slot on your roster. If you were going to fill a roster, right, and you want to evenly distribute the money, everyone would be paid an average of about $8.8 million or something around that, right? You've given him more than the average slot, okay? So you think he's better than your average team slot, your average roster spot, and that's nuts. That's insane. That's sacrilegious. I can't believe this deal. What a horrible deal the New Orleans Pelicans have gotten themselves involved in here. Wow, what a bad deal. Some quick rumors I want to discuss. Dwayne Wade has sent out feelers to Dallas, to New York Knicks, who are developing the 2010 Dream Team. Derrick Rose, Dwayne Wade, Carmelo, Joakim Noah, and Kristaps, who wouldn't been on that Dream Team, but he's going to be good. I think the Knicks, it's going to be very interesting. I'll pick them to make the playoffs. I'm not picking them to be a top 4 seed. I need to see it to believe it. Because, man, I think this whole thing could blow up in their face. If you're telling me Kobe, Steve Nash, and Dwight Howard can blow up in their face, this can blow up in their face. So, I'm looking out for that. And by the way, I was talking about the Lakers. So, if that can blow up for the Lakers, this can definitely blow up for the Knicks. So, I'll pick them to make the playoffs, but I'll be conservative. I'll sit back and I'll say 6 seed, and then we'll see if they can beat that. Because it has a big blow-up factor. I mean, it really does. Some other rumors, Durant meetings are going well with everybody. I still have this belief. I don't see how he's going to sit down with Doc Rivers and the Clippers, sit down with Steve Kerr and the Warriors, sit down with Greg Popovich and the Spurs, sit down with Pat Riley and the Heat and say, nah, I'm going back to OKC. I just don't see how that happens. He's going to go to these organizations, they're going to wine and dine the hell out of him, and he's going to go somewhere. That's my prediction. Colin Cowherd disagrees. You disagree. But that's fine. We'll see what happens. Until next time, James Carter TV, I'm out. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, I'm out. Peace.